Warning, incoming game over. Warning, incoming game over.
What is up? What is up? What is up? Game over Edmonton. We are on the air after a dominant Edmonton Oilers victory. It's Avry and Austin here, guiding you through Edmonton's win. Once again, in Nashville, Tennessee, a multi-goal game for Draisaitl. Noah Philp got his first point in the NHL, and Austin, this is probably one of the better games of the year we've seen from the Oilers thus far, in my mind.
Yeah, absolutely. And Draisaitl in that top line, they set the tone right at the start of the game. That opening shift, I knew right away. I said, you know what? I was just internally thinking to myself, Draisaitl, he's putting that team on his back, and he's going to make sure that this team absolutely is on the ball tonight. And that opening shift, Podkolzin, Arvidsson, Draisaitl, they connect. They make it 1-0 early, and the team never really looked back after that.
No, they did not. A 5-1 victory for Edmonton in Bridgestone Arena, a place in which Edmonton has found a way to win often here on Halloween, and also happy Diwali to those of you who are tuning in tonight. It was a game in which we also saw Austin 11 different Oilers record a point, and this is the first game in which Edmonton's playing with no Connor McDavid. He's out for the next 2 to 3 weeks, and we discussed off air the fact that how Edmonton over the past few years has struggled to get wins without Connor McDavid. And this was the first game in a long time in which there was no McDavid in the lineup, but this team didn't collapse. And you mentioned the first line looked prepared and ready for this challenge today.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you mentioned, with McDavid, historically, when he's not in the lineup, they have struggled, and they do struggle to score, and they struggle to win. What this reminded me of was in the 2019-2020 season, before we had the pause from COVID, Draisaitl, he won the Hart Trophy that year, and it seemed like whenever McDavid was not in the lineup, Draisaitl elevated his game to another level, I guess you could say. And we saw that tonight. We saw Draisaitl. He elevated his play. He's the best player that was on the ice for Edmonton tonight, and he had been challenged in the past. I remember interviews with Todd McClellan. He would do interviews, and he would challenge Draisaitl to be even better than McDavid. He doesn't have to be in McDavid's shadow. He can lead a team, and I really like what we saw from Draisaitl tonight, and hopefully this allows the team to continue to sustain some kind of momentum and hopefully get a few more wins before McDavid gets back into the lineup.
Yeah, totally. And you're right. I recall in interviews where McClellan wanted Dry to be a little bit better, and we've seen him. He's got it in him. He's a guy who's won the MVP. He's won the Rocket Richard. He's got the ability to be that guy and to lead a team. And now, with no McDavid for the next 2 weeks, the fact that he stepped up in this way in a building in which he loves playing Nashville for whatever reason. Nashville it's his building, it's his place where he thrives in. He once again had a really solid game as the leader of his team for the next 2 weeks here.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Draisaitl, he's been a Nashville Predators monster like that. We talk about Halloween, and we talk about being scared at Halloween. The Nashville Predators, they must absolutely be terrified when they go up against Edmonton, because Draisaitl, I don't know what this is. If we played Nashville every night, Draisaitl would score 80 goals in a season, which is hysterical to think about. Like that.
It's true. And you know what's the funny thing about it is with Leon. He hates, like, you ask him about it in the room, he hates discussing it. Like, Leon hates talking about his stroke against Nashville. He does not want to discuss it at all, which is even funnier.
Yeah, no, Draisaitl's funny like that. He's got that personality, and players will always say they don't think about it, and they don't, going into games, it's just any other game. You're just focused on getting the win. They do the boring media answers. Mentally, there's probably something there where he must get excited. He probably gets up and he's excited to play Nashville, because for whatever reason, it's just one of those teams, and every player has one of those teams where they just feast on them for whatever reason. Doesn't matter what the roster turnover is. Doesn't matter that 3/4 of this Nashville roster is not even the same as it was 3-4 years ago. I don't know what it is, but as an Oilers fan, I'm very happy about it.
No, as he should be. And you mentioned the first line, you mentioned the top guys. Victor Arvidsson gets his first goal as an Oiler, and he's someone who came in on this team with Jeff Skinner as one of the pieces that you thought was going to help out in a major way. And finally, he's got a couple of points now, got his first goal, and to see him finally pot one, it's hopefully a thing that's starting to come for him later on now, Austin.
Yeah, for sure. And we've seen signs of Arvidsson's game starting to pick it up when it comes to producing offense. He had the 3 assists against the Pittsburgh Penguins, and you could feel it. You could feel his game's coming around here, and the offense is there, and you can see it on the forecheck. He's just so tenacious. He's an Energizer bunny. He literally just never stops moving when he's on the ice. He had a couple of great opportunities to even score a couple more goals tonight, but it's his on-ice positioning. What I like about Arvidsson a lot, and I don't know what his defensive metrics were like before he joined the Oilers, but I didn't realize how strong he is in the neutral zone, how good he is with his stick, and how much pressure he puts on defenders and just makes life miserable for anyone that's on the ice against him.
Yeah, no, that's a really big thing. He looked strong in neutral zone. He played great in that matter. And I went back to, again, how it was guys like Leon stepping up, Arvidsson, and we talk about the amount of guys who contributed tonight. Noah Phillip, his first NHL game, gets a point, gets an assist, could have had a goal or two. He was, you talk about guys who were active by the net. He himself was active, generating chances, playmaking, able to just be a bothersome force against Nashville all night long. And this is the guy we mentioned again off air before going live, Austin. He's a guy who I definitely think will remain in Edmonton for a long time to come.
I absolutely agree. Noah Phillip, right from his first shift too. He and Corey Perry and Drake Caggiula look great together. And it's nice to see Drake Caggiula back up with the big club too. I didn't know if Caggiula was actually going to play tonight. In line rushes yesterday, he was kind of that odd man out, that 13th forward. But Derek Ryan comes out, Caggiula goes in. Their first shift together, they connect for a goal. Noah Phillip gets his first point of his NHL career. And as you mentioned before we went live, the fact that Noah Phillip took a full year away from hockey to focus on himself, his mental health, and to come back and have the impact that he did, not only in training camp, but in preseason. He goes down to Bakersfield when arguably it would have made sense to not send him down. I think he earned a spot on this roster. He goes down, he puts his head down, he gets to work, waits for his opportunity. He comes up, and like we discussed, I would be shocked if Edmonton sends him back to the minors whenever McDavid comes back. I think he is here to stay.
No, exactly. And also, speaking of that, you know what else goes to work? Our friends at Hyperdrive Hockey. Check out the flagship show of the Game Over Network on the Game Over Network channel. Hyperdrive Hockey, they cover all things hockey around the various leagues, multiple countries, whatever it is, wherever it is. Max, Daphne, Kevin have you covered for all your hockey news with a steady dose of fun and fan engagement. You can find Hyperdrive Hockey on the Game Over Network YouTube channel or wherever you find your favorite podcasts, and also on the Hyperdrive Hockey page at thegameovernetwork.com. As we continue here in the first period of Game Over Edmonton, we'll go to the second period shortly here. We're talking about Noah Phillip, and you mentioned Austin, how he took a year away from the game to focus on his mental health and just become a better person. And there's hockey littered with guys who've taken time away from the game and come back, be it for a year, a couple of years. And it always takes for a lot of these guys, it takes time to get back to what their game was. Not many guys take a year away from the game and play like they haven't missed a step at all, Austin.
No, you're absolutely right. And I think what stands out from Noah Phillip compared to other players historically, who, like you said, it does take a little bit to get going. It takes a little bit just to feel comfortable back out on the ice, on ice positioning. What separates Noah Phillip from a lot of players who have stepped away and come back, Noah Phillip he thinks the game so well. He is just his on ice IQ. And it's something, even though I love analytics and I love numbers, there are some things you can't quantify with players. Noah Phillip is someone that he just thinks the game at another level. He may not blow by someone with speed. He may not put up 30 goals. He's not going to drive a ton of offense per se. And as an individual, break a game or take over a game. but he's someone that just complements every line wherever you play him. He wins faceoffs. I think he went 10-4 on the dot tonight, and he plays the game the smart way. He's just never doing anything that I consider to be a negative when he's out there.
No, absolutely not. And one thing I do want to mention, you mentioned analytics numbers, how what advantage that he has is that compared to other players who've stepped away for a little bit of time, is the fact that he's younger. He's still in his 20s. Historically, guys who've done that have been mid 30s, late 30s, even 40s. Not many guys who have walked away in their 20s have come back to hockey, so that's a benefit for him as well, too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the fact that he's still young, he's in his prime. There's still a lot of room to grow too. Like we don't really know what his ceiling is because of that year off that he took. He was projecting pretty well after he was drafted. He showed well in the minors initially, and then he took that time off. So I'm really curious to know how he projects. But at the moment, I'm just embracing what he's doing right now. The story for him. For what he's gone through, being able to see his family there, celebrate his first NHL point tonight too. It reminds me of, James Hamlin last year around this time got his first goal against Tampa, and there's different storylines, different young players that are trying to make it in this league. And I was super happy to watch that tonight.
Yeah, no, I think everybody was very happy to watch it tonight. And I got to ask you, what are your thoughts on Gene Principe throwing it back to the hot dog costume tonight in the intro?
I absolutely loved it. I loved his interactions with the kids. Gene Principe, we have to protect Gene Principe at all costs here in oil country. I think sometimes he gets a bad rap from fan bases that aren't in Edmonton because the only time they get exposed to him is when they watch Oilers games. Gene Principe is so funny. I love that he threw it back. He's wearing the hot dog costume. I love it.
It is funny. And, it's funny now because over the past year or so, he's now getting more exposure to American audiences via Chaos with DJB and Pete Blackburn. And they have now exposed Gene to an American audience who may not watch Sportsnet. And I think it's hilarious that he's become this cult figure now in America as well, too.
Yeah, absolutely. The Chaos podcast is, I started getting into them during the Stanley Cup playoffs, and that's when they were really leaning into the Bob Stauffer memes and Gene Principe and elevating them, like you said, stateside. And hopefully they can continue to push Gene, and hopefully Gene continues to make a bit of a name for himself down there because he's so wholesome, and we're very lucky here in oil country to have him for every Oilers broadcast up here.
No, I completely agree with that. And one of the points before we go to second period was that Calvin Pickard, he got to start tonight in this game. I thought he looked really sharp as well tonight, Austin. He's someone who got a couple of starts this year so far, and so far he has not had a bad effort in large part, Austin, in net, backing up Stuart Skinner.
Yep, no, Calvin Pickard, you could argue he's had one bad game. Honestly, he played one rough game, and it wasn't even his fault in one, I think it was at Chicago 5-2.
Yeah.
It was the Chicago game. Yeah.
Yeah. That's correct,
but again,
yes.
Wasn't even really his fault. The Oilers didn't play well that night. But he's come in, he gave the team a chance to win. He, just like last year as the backup, every time he played, the team always had a chance to win. He's just consistent. You know what you're getting with him. He made some big saves tonight. The Oilers had one blemish, and that was on the penalty kill. Brett Kulak tried to throw it up the middle of the ice. It hit a couple bodies in front. They score off of it. It happens. Nothing Pickard could have done. But when they needed saves throughout the rest of the game, when the game was a one-goal game, he gave them some big moments. And in the third period too, he made some big saves. Yeah,
no, and that's all you need from Calvin Pickard. You're not gonna ask Calvin Pickard every single time he's called upon in relief of Skinner or gets a spot start. You don't need Pickard to make 35, 40 saves. Just make that big save here and there, and the guys in front of you should be able to handle the rest, really.
Exactly. And what I liked from Edmonton tonight, I noticed a lot more defensemen clearing the front of the net, especially Darnell Nurse. I really noticed Nurse activating at the top of the crease in the blue paint, shoving guys around and preventing anyone from getting those second and third chances. I've noticed when they play in front of Skinner this season, and again, small sample sizes right now, a lot of times Skinner does make that first save, but then there's pucks in front. Defensemen aren't getting to it. They're not clearing it in time. I did like the Oilers defensemen tonight, the attention to detail, protecting the front of the house and giving Calvin Pickard clear lanes to see shots.
No, I totally agree with that. And what else do we like is the help from our friends at LaRouche. With that being said, Game Over Network is an independent production focused on community, inclusion, and quality people. If you're interested in supporting the Game Over Network, we have crowdfunding options available in the description of this episode. You'll find a link to our Patreon page, and we're also working on a page through LaRouche, a crowdfunding platform for companies originating in Quebec. For LaRouche, we're aiming to raise $15,000, and if we hit that goal, we'll gain access to government grants that will allow us to employ more people. I know you want that. If you have any ideas for what you would like to see us give as giveaways from these crowdfunding efforts, please let us know in the comments, on Twitter, Instagram, or on our Discord server. All right. Second period here on Game Over Edmonton. And also, you mentioned the D-men tonight, and this is a game in which, yes, the D-men all season long have been much aligned. It's been the hot button issue, but you're right. I thought it was a much better effort. Aside from the one mistake from Brett Kulak, which led to the one Nashville goal, I was impressed by the play of Kulak, Nurse, Ty Emberson. This was really in large part, a cleaner game from defensively compared to the game against Columbus, which was just a mess in every aspect.
Yeah, that whole game. I think McDavid going down so early in that game, his first shift, I think there was just a bit of the room must have been deflated because the Oilers never found any kind of rhythm throughout the whole game. Structurally, their neutral zone play was weak. Defensively, they were giving up on a lot of pucks, especially in that third period when Columbus made it 5 and 6-1. Those 2 goals in the third period should have never happened. The team just kind of rolled over. It was really nice to see the team step up tonight, and they looked like they were going out there and just they wanted to play hockey and have some fun, and they looked like they weren't overthinking anything. I think sometimes when you're struggling to put the puck in the net, the Oilers, I think, were the lowest shooting percentage team coming into tonight in the NHL. You're gripping your stick a little bit. You're not always having fun. I think that first goal, like I said, with the Draisaitl line, set the tone. Guys could relax, get into their groove, get into a rhythm. And when they bent, Calvin Pickard was there to prevent them from breaking. Yeah,
that's true. And you made a really good point in terms of Darnell Nurse clearing guys from in front of the net, not having too much havoc when it came to in their own end of the ice. I know there was still a few times defensively where there were spots where you could see there was issues, but it wasn't a consistent thing. You could see they're cleaning things up. They're learning from their mistakes in their own end, which hasn't been the case early on. And hopefully it's sign for things to come where this team can be more responsible in their own end of the ice, Austin.
Absolutely. And there was an unfortunate play in the second period where Darnell Nurse, he did a really good job boxing out the Nashville forechecker after the puck went towards Pickard. And then there was like a clear zone in the slot and that puck's sitting there. And Matthias Janmark does a great job hustling to make sure that a Nashville forward doesn't get their stick on it first. But then he shoots the puck out over the glass. It's just, we cleaned those things up a little bit. The penalty kill was able to stop Nashville. They didn't give up a goal early in the third. But just, they're doing the right things, and then there's sometimes a mistake as they're doing the right things. But once they clean that up, I liked Janmark's hustle. It was an unfortunate puck kind of just gets stuck on the blade of his stick and flips out. But they were doing the right things on that shift.
Yeah, no, they really were. And this is a team in which we know offensively this is going to turn around. But the big, and we saw tonight here with the 5 goals, the big thing is making sure things turn around defensively, because last season we saw this team's penalty kill was one of the best in the league. If they can get back to what made this team great last year defensively on 5-on-5 and on the man advantage or on the when they're down a man, this team should be fine, because I know people are saying the start's been a little bit rough, and it has been, but they're not 2-9-1. And right now, they're right there. They're right there in the playoff bubble. They're not battling back from being down 14 or 16 points. So even though it isn't the ideal start, it's still better than last year's start.
Absolutely. And the fact that they are 5-5-1, considering how much like until tonight, they had 8 of their 12 regular forwards who combined for like 5 points.
Yes.
Like the forward group has really struggled to get going here. Zach Hyman, he finally gets off the schneid, gets his first of the season. Arvidsson gets his first of the season. We knew the team would eventually break out offensively. We just didn't know when it was going to happen. Last year, the team was finding ways to lose games early in the year. They could score goals, but they couldn't keep the puck out of the net. Their power play was clicking, but 5-on-5 wasn't. This year, the special teams are a struggle, but they have found a way to get some wins. And the fact that they are 5-5-1, and we know that they should be trending upward even without McDavid, is a really encouraging sign as we move into November and start getting into the deep end of the season here.
No, totally. And we all know that the big barometer we're gonna be is American Thanksgiving, and the fact that they're still there in on pace to be a playoff team by American Thanksgiving is a really great sign. You mentioned Zach Hyman; he gets his first goal this season in this game too, and you mentioned it was coming because you saw Zach Hyman doing his thing again, getting near the front of the net, getting his chances. It wasn't like Zach wasn't getting his chance in front of that. He was still putting pucks on net, still finding ways to be a nuisance in the front of the crease area.
Absolutely. And Stathletes put out a tweet, a Halloween themed trick or treat tweet. Most scoring chances in the NHL without a goal coming into tonight. Zach Hyman with 36 scoring chances without a goal. The next closest was Dylan Cousins with 20. So Zach Hyman, you knew he was going to break out, and I think the goals are going to come fast and furious for him now. I think now that he's got the one, you could see his elation, his excitement, the monkey off the back.
Mhm.
Every player goes through struggles when it comes to goal scoring. Zach Hyman, it seemed like no matter what was thrown on net, pucks would hit him, they'd go in. This year it's been a little bit tougher, but he hasn't let that, he hasn't changed his game. You always get concerned that players, when they're struggling, they start changing their game, how
Yeah.
they approach things. Zach Hyman, he's been consistently doing what he does best: get it in the goalie's face, hang out in the crease, and he's been getting breakaways. I liked tonight that he just shot the puck. He picked
Yeah.
a corner. He didn't go backhand. Every breakaway he's had, he's gone backhand. So it was nice to see him just shoot it tonight.
No, it's true. And it's funny that that's how Zach Hyman scores. The least likely way for him to score is a breakaway coming in on Tsar. Like, that's like the least likely way for Zach Hyman to get that scoring drought over with. But you're right, though. A guy like him, he gets one, hasn't changed his game too much. He's probably going to get 2, 3, 4 pretty soon. And yeah, you're right. He hasn't deviated from being a guy who hangs around the net within 5 feet. We saw a scoring chart last year, which was comical, where 38 what was it, like over 38 over his goals came from no more than 5 feet of the net, which was so funny to look at.
Yeah, no, hysterical. And obviously teams, they see that too. Teams have their analytics departments, they have their coaching staff, their video coaches. NHL teams, like, they adjust, right? And you can see the adjustments being made on Zach Hyman, especially on the power play. The Oilers have really struggled finding him at all on a power play. Teams are finding ways to prevent the puck from getting to him on the back door or in the crease area. But to Zach Hyman's credit, he's still had a ton of chances this season, and he's just as smart as a player as other teams' coaching staffs, and he'll find a way to break teams.
No, he really will. And you mentioned other guys who've had chances. Someone else who had chances who scored tonight is Corey Perry. Someone who, early on, he's made an impact. He's found things to do, which is a good sign for Corey Perry. He's been busy. I think that's a really big sign. Be it, being physical, fights, goals. Corey Perry's been noticeable, which I think is a really good thing for him. Do something. He's found a way to do that early on this season, Austin.
Yeah, absolutely. And for Corey Perry too, one thing that I've noticed, and maybe I didn't expect, maybe it's been a while since I've seen Corey Perry like as a full-time NHLer. He's so smooth with the puck. His hands, like, he doesn't have the foot speed anymore, but the way he sees the game and his hands, he's just silky smooth, in close in front of the net. The way he can get passes off, or just his goal tonight, the puck comes out and he makes a nice move. It's a thing of beauty to watch. Corey Perry, old school player, but he plays he plays a style of game now. He knows his age. He knows he's in the twilight of his career, and he's adapting, and it's really good to see. You always worry about players that are, 38, 39, 40. They don't have the foot speed anymore. But like you said, he's working hard and he's finding ways to contribute every single game. Every single game he's doing something that is contributing positively to the team.
Yeah, no, he has. And speaking of guys who are contributing, finding ways to do things tonight as well, Vasily Podkolzin, he was, again, very effective. I thought he was trying to get Jeremy chances in the Edmonton's top 6. Had a fight tonight against Jeremy Lauzon, and my gosh, only second career fight in NHL. He's another guy who I tweet about it. Guys who have sneaky hands. He's one of those guys who doesn't fight often, but my goodness, almost knocked out Lauzon that straight right to the forehead. That was brutal.
Yeah, brutal is an understatement. Podkolzin looked like he was a veteran fighter during that. And like you said, sometimes it's the unexpected players that throw hands that end up having the more entertaining fights. We've seen it with Nugent Hopkins in the past. Some of the fights that he's had where once he gets going, you can't really stop him. Podkolzin, he's been around it. He's been around the crease. He's had good offensive chances, and he's been a good complementary player for Draisaitl and Arvidsson. And again, he contributes a little bit differently tonight. He does get an assist, and he did have the fight. I was really hoping for the Gordie Howe hat trick and a goal at some point, but Pod Colson's still looking for his first goal as an Oiler. I'm sure it'll come very soon, though, if he keeps playing like he has over the past week or so.
Yeah, no, exactly. And it was one of two fights. You saw Ty Emerson get physical, and Ty Emerson is someone who I thought has been wonderful. I've said before on the show, Austin, Ty Emerson has been a very stable defender on the back end. He's figuring things out. You're seeing his game come together now in Edmonton. The first couple of games, you could tell he might have been a little bit nervous, but he's settled in nicely as a depth D-man so far, Austin.
Absolutely. And like you said, stable. He's stable back there. He's your typical shutdown D-man. He's never going to get the roses that he probably deserves, but he's doing things that other defensemen don't do. And that is take care of things in his own zone, takes care of his teammates, makes the right plays, and, prevents those second and third chances in front of his crease. He's somebody that I think they thought Cody Ceci was a few years ago, that type of defender, not flashy offensively and just take care of business defensively. However, Ty Emerson's defensive zone play is a much improved play, in my opinion. Something that works better with this group, I will say, in terms of getting the puck up to the forwards quickly and allowing this team to attack on transition and not being attacked back. He's good at preventing zone entries, and he's good at breaking up the cross crease passes and odd man rushes.
No, he's been great all that. And one thing too that I talked to him last week for a story I'm doing for Hockey News, and one thing that he said he's wanted to work on over the past little bit here has been his passing and his skating, which were two things in which Brett Kulak praised him for. I talked to Brett Kulak as well, and Brett Kulak told me that he's a big fan of him when it comes to his skating. That's a big thing that his team likes about the fact that when he is carrying the puck and skating, he's very effective at that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's something that I noticed in preseason. A lot of times a defender, depending on the type of pressure that they have from a forechecker, they'll just try and rush a puck. They'll throw it off the glass. They'll throw it off the boards, and they'll rush themselves. What I love about Emerson, and something I notice every single game, when he's pressured, he just spins off of the check. He spins away. He skates in front. He keeps his head up, and he looks for that first pass, whether it's 5 feet in front of him or if it's a pass up the middle, whatever he knows is the right play or the safer play to get the puck out and out of trouble. He does it. And if he doesn't see a play, I really like that he skates it up the ice instead of just throwing it away.
Right? No, it is so much fun. It is so much fun to watch with him. And what else is fun is, hey, when Game Over is done, remember, tomorrow morning, Game On Hockey. That's the show you got to tap into. Graham Mosimann, he's got you all covered for Game On tomorrow morning. A 10-minute show recapping all of what happened the night before in the NHL, Monday through Friday on the Game Over Network YouTube channel. Make sure you tap in. He's got all kinds of stories and stuff to keep you updated in every Canadian market and all over the NHL on GameOverNetwork.com. So make sure tomorrow you tap in to Game On here on the Game Over Network. As we move into it's right period, Austin. Give me 1 second here. Oh,
yeah, no, all good.
Well, good. As we try to make the trade overlays are nice and good for us here in the All right, there we go. Third period. I do want to ask you, Austin, among all the names who've been brought up tonight, even names who weren't brought up tonight, who do you feel was the most underrated Oiler tonight in the victory in your mind over Nashville?
The most underrated Oiler tonight?
Yes.
I'm actually going to say Travis Dermott. Travis Dermott is someone that hasn't had a regular spot in the lineup playing on defense. And the couple games that they've played him with Darnell Nurse, they seem to struggle together. They sometimes look like they're a little, they're just not where they should be. And you can tell it's a bit of a chemistry thing. And Dermott playing on his offside, or his offhand, I should say. But Travis Dermott tonight, I thought he was really, really steady back there. I thought him and Nurse had a much improved game tonight. Their best game together for sure as a defense pair. And that's a good sign. If Travis Dermott can start playing like he did from preseason, there's a reason why he earned that contract with Edmonton. Bit of a slow start to start the season, but I liked Travis Dermott's game a lot. He was quiet. great defensively, made good plays, broke up a lot of passes, and he was really good in the corners. I noticed his play in the corners tonight allowed the Oilers to win puck battles and get up the ice.
Yeah, no, I agree. And he's the guy in which, much like Ty Emerson, it's going to take him some time to figure things out and get settled to Edmonton. But tonight, I thought was, one of his better nights in an Oilers uniform. And if we can see more of that going forward, that back end should be shored up pretty shortly here in my mind, Austin.
Yeah, absolutely. And, if Stetcher's playing good and Dermott's doing good and Emerson's playing well, and you're struggling to figure out who is going to be the odd man out as that seventh D man, that's a good problem to have on this team. This team has been desperate for defensive depth, players that can step in when they're asked, and players who are okay with stepping out when they're asked. And this is a good sign for the Oilers if they're able to sustain this. And big thing right now, though, I really hope the coaching staff just keep certain guys together. Don't split them up too much. If you see guys starting to gain some chemistry, let's just keep it together for just a little bit.
That's the big thing because we've seen, no matter the coach, be it a Knobloch, be it a Tippett, be it a Kent Hitchcock, be it Tom McClelland, the coach has had a tendency to go into the McBlender or whatever blender you want to call it and start mixing things up and getting too cute with the line. So I agree. If something works and it's working for however many games, 3, 4, 5, 6 games, leave it alone. We don't need to get too cute in terms of mixing up the lines or deep pairings. I agree with that.
Yeah, no, absolutely agree. And for some reason it was weird. The other night they played Kulak and Nurse together, like opening shift, when they hadn't played together like all season, when it was supposed to be Stetcher. And let's just hope that, when it comes to the defenseman, I should say. I don't know who is in charge of that. Probably Paul Coffey is the one that kind of runs his D pairs out during games. Like you said, we need some stability up and down this lineup. Let guys get comfortable. Let guys build chemistry. Let guys work together and build off of each other and build their games upwards.
Yeah, totally. And now this is game 1 of possibly game 6 or 7 without Connor McDavid. So I do want to ask you, Austin, in your mind, what is success without Connor McDavid? Is you see this team going 4-2, like 3-3? Like what is your record, you think, for a real success if Connor McDavid's out? I don't think, it'll be nice to say, oh, they're gonna go 6-0 or 7-0. I don't know what's gonna happen, but what is your ideal record to say, you know what, I'm happy with insert record without Connor McDavid for these next 6 or 7 games?
I think let's go on the conservative end. Let's say 6 games they're without McDavid. If they win 3, or if they get points in 4 out of 6, I think is considered a massive success. Stay at 500 or stay around the playoff positioning. Allow McDavid to just rest up. And when he comes back, he'll be shot out of a cannon. And hopefully this team continues to build off that. I think, going 500 here. But even in games that they lose, because you're not going to win every game, and they're likely going to lose a couple without McDavid in the lineup. Are they doing the right things? Are they still building their game to a level where, as fans, we watch and we go, okay, this team is doing the right things. They will keep winning. I like, what we're doing here. That's the big thing for me, is just how are they going to respond without him in the lineup? Tonight was a great start. Let's see if they can continue to sustain that, keep playing that way. And for certain individual players on this team, the leaders like Draisaitl, if they're able to find a way to sustain that type of offensive production as well, really carry the load a little bit. Let McDavid know that, he does so much for the team. It's the team's turn to help him out and do him a favor and keep this team in a good spot in the standings.
Yeah, I agree with that 1,000%. And you look at this team in which, you're right, though. I think success is going to be, you're right, at least getting a point in 4 or 5 of these games, possibly going, I would say, 4-2. As long as you're not going 1-5 or 0-6, you should be fine. If you're getting a point in almost every one of these games, that's great, because as volatile as Western Conference can be, as volatile as this division can be, you still need to keep pace with the Calgarys, with the Vegas Golden Knights.
Absolutely. And good news for Edmonton. Some of these teams that got off to hot starts, like the Flames, they're regressing, and the Oilers are starting to find their game now. The Oilers have won, I think, 5 of their last 8. So they are on the upward trend here, and they just have to avoid those stinkers. Those 6-1 loss, the 6-0 loss to Winnipeg, 6-1 to Columbus. Avoid the stinkers. Play to the level that we know that they can play. We know certain guys, they're not going to drive the offense, but there's enough talent and depth on this roster. They can get the job done. They can survive a few weeks without McDavid, in my opinion.
No, I could not agree more. And shortly, we're going to get to your questions, your comments in overtime before we wrap things up on Game Over Edmonton. But before we get there, we want you to look good we want you to look good wearing some Game Over merchandise. We got a lot of stuff for you to wrap here as, hey, what better way to support this show than making sure you're swagged out come this winter, come this Christmas. Get yourself a nice mug, get yourself a nice hoodie, get yourself a t-shirt. When we go through, you see a slideshow here for Game Over Edmonton. There are so many options here when it comes to merch. Hey, I'm going to order myself something as well, but what does the store have entirely? Well, there are 3 unique designs. Whether you want to feel nostalgic and wear a retro skater design, whether you want to wear our established design, or whether you want to show your love for goaltenders with our Live and Die by the Goalie design. And if you want a mug, we got mugs for you. You want a mouse pad? That's there for you. Bandana, we're there. The merch has been designed by Brady Chalice from Game Over Winnipeg. So you see the QR code on screen. Take out your phone, scan that, and head to our apparel store and help us build local sports media in Canada while repping all of the Game Over Network shows. All right. With that being said, we're heading to overtime. As you can see, that ad runs over Austin's face. Not for too much longer.
Not gonna lie though, I'm very excited to get my mug and t-shirt in. I did order a mug and a t-shirt, so I'll be repping those on future Game Overs because I love the designs of this stuff.
No, it's amazing. Brady did a really good job designing all the stuff here for us here on Game Over. And like I mentioned, here in overtime, we'll get to a bunch of your comments, questions. I see we got some here in the chat. Tobias Frost, he had a comment here saying, give the net to Pickard versus Calgary. We can't trust Skinner to make the saves when needed. I don't know about that. I think, yes, at times Stewart has been a little bit inconsistent, but pump the brakes on saying Pickard the starter, Stewart needs to be the backup. Now pump the brakes here on that. That's severe hyperbole in my mind.
I think it's hyperbole, but I'm also old school where I like the idea of riding the hot hand. So I don't completely disagree that it should be Pickard's net against Calgary. Just, you have a couple more days off here. But, in saying we can't trust Skinner to make saves when needed, I agree. Probably hyperbolic. We saw what Skinner was capable of in the playoffs, and we know he's going to turn his game around. Stuart Skinner is too good not to. He's put in the work. We've seen it earlier this season, too, that game against Pittsburgh. He had a bad game against Columbus. The whole team had a bad game against Columbus. It would have been different if Edmonton outshot Columbus 50-17 and they lost 6-1.
Yeah.
The Oilers were never in that game right from the start. So a lot of fans overreacted to that one. Of course, you see the 6 goals against on whatever many shots. It's going to look bad. His numbers are deflated right now. He'll turn it around. I'm not too worried about Skinner.
No, exactly. He's shown before he has the ability to turn it around and be a starter in this league. Now, maybe he's not going to ever be a guy who can play that 70, 65 game workload and be a Martin Brodeur, but he is still a guy who I do believe is a starter in the NHL. So the idea of him being unable to be a good goaltender or not being able to make the save consistently, I think is a little bit silly. I mean, this is a goaltender who went to an all-star game already. So, sure, maybe Stu needs the tandem, needs a break every once in a while, but to say he's not good is silly, or to say he's not the goalie you need is silly.
Yeah, absolutely. I trust Stuart Skinner. I've been a Stuart Skinner believer from the beginning, and I will go to the grave always believing in Skinner. I think he's our guy. I think this team will win a championship with Stuart Skinner.
Yeah, I mean, they were literally a goal away from it happening. They were literally one more goal away, and that game was tied to making that happen. So I agree with you on that, Austin. Another comment here. Only a few comments tonight. Milhanek, I believe, is how you pronounce that name. If I got that wrong, please correct me. Hopefully McDavid's injury was a wake-up call to the rest of the Oilers. After one game, it appeared so. Hopefully that is the trend, because if this is how this team can wake up for 6 more games like that, then the rest of the league should be afraid if this team can find a way to be that consistent with no Connor McDavid. if I was any other team in Western Conference, that should be a scary sign if this team can win games 5 and 6-1 and there's no 97 on the ice.
Yeah, absolutely. And you had touched on it at the very start of the stream. You mentioned 11 different Oilers had points tonight. It was by committee, and it's going to have to be by committee the entire time McDavid is out. And even when he gets back, why not have other guys step up? Why does it always have to be Draisaitl and McDavid? These guys, they're like, let's, it's by committee, work as a team, win as a team, lose as a team. It was by committee tonight. Keep putting the hard hats on, boys. Keep going to work, and give McDavid some stuff to cheer about while he's eating popcorn in the press box.
No, exactly. And all right, so we got I see one more comment here. I see Adamant. Adamant. We go. Don't know why I couldn't say adamant. Skinner's our starter 100. Skinner's our starter 100%. Yeah, that's the war. The war I see online between Stewart's not our guy and Stewart is the guy. Like, I think that's gonna be a thing forever and ever on, man, because we saw it even last year after Jack Campbell struggled. So I agree. I'm a Skinnerholic 100% like you are, Austin.
Yeah, and Jack Campbell, by the way, I hope he's doing well. I hope he's getting the help that he needs, and he comes back strong for the Red Wings whenever he does come back in the NHL or wherever he ends up playing. But Jack Campbell was a little bit different. There were signs that his game was not what they thought it was when they signed him. He showed signs in the second half of that Canadian division season. And then that first year with the Oilers, he never found a groove, never looked comfortable. And even that second year before we sent him to the minors, Stuart Skinner, he has that one game that looks really bad, but then he plays 3 or 4 incredible games. He's a starting caliber goaltender. He may not, like you said, he may not be elite. He may not be a Shesterkin or a Hellebuck, but there's a reason why those guys are in like very rare company for the style that they play. Stuart Skinner, he's going to be great. He's going to be fine. He's going to be fine.
No, he will. He will be just fine in that Oilers net. And all right, we're going to wrap things up here on Game Over Edmonton. Austin, any last thoughts before we sign off for the night? Any final thoughts before we let things go?
I guess the only one that I didn't get to touch on was the team is now 5-0 when they have a fighting major in a game. So I'm expecting some fireworks against the Calgary Flames in the next Battle of Alberta on Sunday.
Oh, man, that'll be fun. That's going to be super fun to see. Of course, that'll be a Game Over crossover show. Make sure you tap into that. And make sure you like, subscribe, and comment to all of the Game Over Network shows. Not just this one here. Support all the shows across the country and support Hyperdrive Hockey, support Game On Hockey. We're building some fun, independent hockey content here on the network. So with that being said, for Austin, I'm Avry. We're out of here. Talk to you all for Edmonton, Calgary. Peace.